Hey, what's up, y'all? What's up? Hope all is well. Let me make sure gotta make sure I got my mic feeding in the right location. Okay, y'all give me a minute. I think all is well. Let me check my sound. Check. All right, y'all. What it do? It's your guy, Mr. Haywood from Haywoods Pool and Spa. And man, we're back once again. We're continuing our education series. Let's see. I'm gonna make sure I send out my yeah. Y'all give me a second to send out these notifications. Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, we're continuing in our education series. And today's topic is pool filter installation, right? We're going to be going over a step-by-step guide to installing swimming pool filters, all right? So that's what we're talking about today. And, let's get this thing jumping. By the way, I hope you guys have, in case you didn't know, again, this is a part of our education series. I just decided to push out part 6. I was going to wait till I got to number 10. But you know what? I'm anxious. I'm anxious to get it out to the world. I'm anxious to get this information out so that people can begin to understand what's going on. And again, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just another addition to the wheel. I'm just a cog in the wheel, and I just want to do my part. And so I'm excited about it. And like I said, keep in mind that there's actually 6 parts to this, right? So we started off with filter sizing. We went on to cartridge filters. Then we talked about DE filter care. We talked about backwash valves, repair for swimming pools. We talked about troubleshooting pool and spa filters. We talked about sand filter care. So as you see, we went through cartridge, sand, and DE, which is basically your 3 top filters. And then now today we're talking about pool filter installation. All right, so let's jump on into this thing, man. I'm pretty excited about this. And just learning more things about the trade, learning more things that I can, push out to my phone, push out to the public. Again, we're creating this network, we're creating this bond, we're creating this community, and I'm just doing my part. So like I said, shout out to all the other service techs that have podcasts and actually have live streams. I want to, man, I'm standing on the shoulders of you guys, man. I'm standing on the shoulders of you guys. And so, again, without you, wouldn't be no me. And like I said, I'm excited, dude. I'm in this thing. And yeah, man. So make sure y'all check out my promo video for the site. And at the end of the video, it talks about all the different services that we provide. So if you're in the Los Angeles County area, right, mainly I'm like in the northern end. I'm in the Antelope Valley. And so, hey, man, reach out, hit us up. Like I said, you see all the different things that we do. If you're a realtor, if you are and you have properties with pools that need to be serviced and maintained until the house is sold, let's talk about that. We could even discuss keeping me on, with the new owners if the owners are interested as their pool guy. All right. So if you got green pools and you need to bring them pools from green back to sparkling clean, man, give us a call. Haywoods Pool and Spa Service is we'll be at your door. All right. We'll be at your door. I'll come through. Let's talk. All right. Anyway, so with that being said, we're going to go ahead and dive into this article. Remember, this article is coming out of the Ultimate Tech Manual. Okay. This article is an older article. But it doesn't matter. It was posted on July 8, 2017. But you know what? All information is new when you come across it. It don't matter when the information was put out there. So shout out to the people who put this article out. And if you're ready, let's go ahead and get this thing started. All right. So title of this again is called Pool Filter Installation. Before we get started real quick, make sure that you like, make sure that you subscribe, make sure that you hit the notification bell. You know what I mean? That way that you're That way that you get the notification when I'm getting ready to go live, right? I usually go live and I'll give it a few minutes before we jump in, do a little homework, a little, pre-talking. Most of the time I'll take you backwards for things that I've already done just to catch you up to speed in case you're interested in going backwards and checking that out. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive in. Pool filter installation. A step-by-step guide to installing swimming pool filters. All right. Now, when it comes to filters, some of the most fundamental considerations can make the biggest differences. All right. Where the unit is located, it's a big deal. How neatly it is incorporated into the overall circulation system and how it's tied into the pool's electrical circuitry are all very well important. All right. We'll cover all of that and more in the basic filter installation guide. All right. So now when we talk about where the unit is located, all right, we also go into how easily it's accessible. How can you access it, right? As a pool service technician. Sounds good, huh? Technician. Because y'all know that they have passed some laws to go ahead and make the pool service guy a real technical job. It's a real position now. Before it was, just a pool guy. You thought about maybe some white dude or some Mexican dude coming through the backyard, young guy, or maybe even an older guy. Well, guess what? We're breaking in now, y'all. You're going to see more color. It's going to be more color added to the party. But enough of that. It's just, is your access only for a little skinny guy? Can a guy that's a little heavier get back there, be able to get amongst the equipment and do the work that needs to be done? All that plays a part, right? And again, it goes back to how neatly it is incorporated into the overall system. All right. So either way it goes, the work's got to be done. But obviously, if you got better access, it might be better for your pool guy. All right. So safety first. Safety first. Safety is always first. Safety must be a primary consideration every step of the way. All right. It is particularly crucial for units outfitted with pressure clamp assemblies, okay, which can fly apart with tremendous force under certain conditions. In fact, flying parts from a blown filter often are the source of property damage and the cause of severe, sometimes fatal injuries. Now, again, it's a really big deal. Sometimes you have the big filters where they'll have these clamp things that clamp down on them to keep them down. Excuse me, to keep them down. And so, if one of those things blows, let's just pray that ain't nobody back there, nobody's around, nobody's in the pool yard, or even with that, your pool, your setup. I mean, where your filter is, your pumps are, your pump baskets, even the heater. Maybe it's all behind a wall, right? I know, like I got a neighbor, at his pool, he built like a 6-foot wall around it, right? Which makes sense because of safety. If you got that thing open and you got kids in the pool or adults in the pool for that matter, again, you get parts to start flying over the place, dude, all over the place. It becomes a big deal real quick. All right. So safety, safety, safety. All right. So clamp assembly. One of the best ways to avoid such mayhem, experts say, is to get the clamp assembly and an O-ring seated properly on the tank before pressure testing or starting the circulation system. Okay, I'll read that again. One of the best ways to avoid such mayhem, experts say, is to get the clamp assembly and O-ring seated properly on the tank before pressure testing or starting the circulation system. Okay, and you know what, man, and it comes with experience, right? It's like any trade. It's going to come a time where you'll run across things that you've never seen before, things that you've never dealt with before. Now, the beauty of life now is that we got the internet. You can always Google some things. YouTube, there's always somebody out there who's dealt with it before you and took the time to document the information. That way, boom, whether you're the homeowner or whether you're a service tech, you have the ability to walk in and walk out with your head held high, your chest sticking out, and you can please the customer, right? Please the client, right? A part of this thing is again, knowing your stuff. It's very important that you know your stuff. Now, again, it's going to be a time where you're green. Do the research that you need to do so that way you look good in front of the client, right? Because this thing is built on trust, rapport. If you get to the point to where your client, your customer, just doesn't believe in you or doesn't trust you, you know what? You might be looking for new accounts. And so it all is based on rapport, being open. Hey, man, you know what? If I don't know the answer, because guess what? In my life, dude, I've always prided myself with knowing how to find the information, not necessarily knowing the information. Knowing what they say in G.I. Joe, knowing is half the battle, right? Knowing is half the battle. How do you perform? How do you take this information and transparently bring it to your client and be able to set them down, you know, with a level of understanding that they trust you, that they believe in you. And that's all important, right? It's all a part of it. It's all a part of it, okay? So, I mean, back to that clamp assembly, okay? Make sure everything is seated correctly before you start the system, all right? And again, it comes with a little bit of experience. And again, always read the manufacturer's recommendations, okay? Somewhere on that filter will be a rating plate, a name plate, which basically just describes everything about the filter. Take that information, capture it, go look it up, find what you need, pull that manual down, read the manual, and figure out how to seat those O-rings and the clamps properly. That way you have no issues in the future. And guess what? If the clamps and stuff begin to get old, the O-rings get old, replace them. It's always better to replace them, or whether you can do it without charging the customer or whether you need to charge the customer, replace them, because remember, safety is always first, all right? All right. Filter makers often recommend tightening the clamp to specification using the torque wrench. Now, but I don't have a torque wrench. Well, you're going to have to go out there and get you one. Spend some money to make your job a little bit easier. I know when I was coming through the class, my teacher, that's one of the things he told me. He goes, bro, you're going to have to get you a toolbox, a tool kit, right? That basically has everything in it that you need to work around these pools. Get you one. You don't want to go out. The benefit of having a toolkit, I should say, is not having to make double trips. Have what you need to service any situation that possibly comes up. Now, in the beginning, you're not going to be aware of that. So it's going to be some running around, some different things you have to do. You might have to come back to the customer site more than once, right? You show up on let's just say you show up on a Monday, something happened. Well, the pool ain't really that, it's not that dire need. It's a certain time of the year where they're not really using it. Okay, well, you might be able to put that repair off. But if they're using that pool, it's high time, high fire, and the pool is hot, they're coming in hot, you're going to have to get back there, and which may push you to the end of your day because, again, you weren't prepared, right? I had an old dude on the job tell me, man, the 5 Ps. And let me explain to you the 5 Ps. The 5 Ps. If you keep this in your mind, man, anything you do in life, you'll be on top of the game. The 5 Ps are as follows. Okay, proper planning prevents poor performance. 5 Ps. Again, proper planning prevents poor performance. So always plan ahead, right? You're not going to be able to plan for everything, but as you go through your different experiences, log them, right? Store them so that you can begin to be a better and stronger, more efficient service pro, all right? Extra care in placing the assembly around the tank and tightening is crucial. Some manufacturers recommend partially tightening the clamp and then with a rubber mallet or hammer handle, tapping the assembly into place around the perimeter of the tank. Okay. You do what you decide, right? Whether that mallet works for you, the rubber mallet, or a hammer handle. Again, that's the wooden part of the handle, sort of getting it on and then knocking it into place. Whatever works for you. Okay. Improper application of the clamp assembly may result in a poor seal that can cause the filter to separate. You don't want that filter to separate. You don't want nothing to happen to that filter because of your negligence. All right. You're going to have to eat that cost. You're not going to be able to pass that cost on to your client or your customer. All right. And that's just being honest. Alternatively, the uneven seal might slowly force some tanks out of round. Over time, it creates serious problems in future servicing. Okay. Now, if your round filter starts to come unround, then you tell me how you're going to be able to get that top back on. You won't be able to get that top back on. It's going to become a problem. It's going to become an issue for you. All right. So pay attention to that. And further increase the chance of a blowout. Now, a blowout again is boom, the thing taking off, blowing out your clamps, your O-rings, traveling across the yard, and possibly knocking somebody in the head, cutting the leg, cutting the foot. It's not, man, the quickest way to get removed or kicked off the site or cancel contracts is not paying attention, guys. All right. So, make sure that you take care of that, right? We don't need any serious problems when it comes to servicing, okay? And blowout, we don't need no blowouts, okay? A safety tip: always stand away from the filter while it's filling. Most filters now have a spring assembly, which aids techs in knowing when the clamp is properly tightened. Open the air bleed valve and let the air out of the pump, and let the air out after the pump is turned on to test that the filter assembly is assembled properly. When the water emerges from the bleed valve, close the valve, and you can walk. And you set, you're doing it right, you're on your way. Okay. And that's just basically that's basic information. Okay, basic information. If at this point you don't understand some of the things that I'm saying, make sure you go over that video, start it over. That's the beauty of having this thing archived. The beauty of getting that notification bell is to get the notification as soon as I go live. That way you're not behind or you don't feel like you don't quite understand. Okay, before I go any further, let's take the time right now to like. Push the like button, y'all. Push the subscribe button. Come on in. I need y'all to come on in. Come on into the chat. Talk to me. I'll talk back. All right. All right. So we're talking about pool filter installation. We're going to go over some different types of filters. But, man, it's a step-by-step guide. And, again, this is a part of our education series. This is part 6 in our education series. All right. So come on in, y'all. Don't be afraid. Let's talk. All right. Remember, when water emerges from that bleed valve, you can go ahead and close the valve because they're basically telling you that the air, they pushed all the air out, and now you don't have no more air pockets, and now that water can travel the way it's supposed to. Sometimes when you have air in the system, you may not even know if you're not accustomed. But now I've been in different industries, so I know when that pump is starting to cavitate, you can see you can hear it, almost like a gargling at the pump. You'll see air just in that thing circling around, not full water. It'll be air bubbles, okay? Usually when it happens, that means it's cavitating. You got air trapped in your system. So a good way is to pull it, whatever part of your system has that air valve, right? I know in some like water systems, when it comes to heating and ventilation, the boiler system, they have these things that are air vents at the top, the highest point of the piping. So that way when air comes in, it has somewhere to escape, and it ain't just rattling them big old pipes around, right? All right, so electricity. When any repairs are done, open the filter. Whenever any repairs are done on the filter or related components, okay, shut off all the pool's electrical circuits at the source, and if necessary, pull the circuit breakers. You don't want that power to come on and the pump to come on while you got that filter open, right? I mean, it's just going to be water all in your face sometimes, depending on how powerful that pump is. And or, like I said, if you don't have them O-rings and them clamps seated properly, the thing pops, busts you in the face. You know, your lip busted, break your nose, anything, dude. That's got to be a horrible situation. Not to mention, most times when you're in backyards, if the homeowners is home, guess what they doing? They peeking at you, checking you out. You imagine what it looks like to a guy who thinks that he has a service pro in his yard. And this dude's watching you get your butt whooped back there based on you not knowing what you're doing. That's got to be a horrible thing. So take the time out, guys. Read the manufacturer's directions, installation, the homeowner's manual, whatever, to get the information that you need so that you don't make these kind of mistakes, all right? And like I say, electricity, always turn the power off when you're servicing equipment. Always. Right? Always. And again, it's servicing, it's making repairs, right? Not necessarily scrubbing, brushing, pouring chemicals in the pool. That's not service repair. Service repair is anything that has to do with a pump assembly, a filter assembly, okay, dealing with the heater, opening up pipes, lines, to make repairs, okay? So that's what they mean when they talk about that. Equipment pad readiness. Let's talk a little bit about that. All right. Next, it's time to get down on the hands-on part of filter installation. Equipment pad. There are several ways to go here. Prefabricated slabs are popular in some quarters nowadays, but if you go the traditional route, be sure the equipment pad is a flat, level slab of poured concrete, brick or concrete block. Because you can buy bricks, you can set out there, you can buy the blocks and blocks already prefabbed. Again, you just got to do a little bit of work to preparing the dirt, the sand under it to make sure that it's level. All right. Everything being level ensures that all your equipment is working properly, all right, and not necessarily working against itself. Sometimes when the pump is lined up with the piping, if it's off a little bit, it's going to cause the pump to work harder, which means now you got seal issues and you got impeller issues. The impeller to end up going bad, and again, you're prematurely fixing things that don't need to be fixed because the stuff wasn't leveled. It's a very big deal. So make sure that you check on that and pay attention. And if you don't know how to do it, get you a service tech that does. And if you don't know, if your service tech don't know how to do it, go find you a guy that knows how to pour concrete properly. Okay, to get you the best situation that you need to be in. Okay. So again, slabs are popular in some quarters, okay? But if traditional route, concrete, block, or poured concrete. Never install a new filter on wood because it can warp or decay beneath the filter's footings and compromise the position of the unit. It's going to be water dripping from time to time, y'all. It's inevitable. It ain't much you can do about it. Now, a really tight system shouldn't be no water dripping nowhere. But in case you have a system that may leak a little water here or there, in between the time that your service guy comes and makes his repairs, you don't want it on wood because wood will begin to warp. It's going to rot after a while. And then at some point, your filter is going to fall through it or begin to be out of alignment. Okay. And everything being aligned is a big deal. You got to make sure, okay, because you don't want to compromise. The big word here is compromise the position of the unit. That's the word of the day. Y'all remember Pee Wee Herman? Compromise is the word of the day. All right. Keep that in mind. There are three things to watch out for. Okay. First, your filters should always be installed on a level surface. Okay. We talked about that already because you don't want to compromise the system. Okay. There that word to come up again. If things aren't square, the unit may vibrate or not operate at its optimum. Optimum. Okay. Remember, and again, you're going to compromise the unit. Okay. 2, filters should be located as close to the pool as possible. As close to the pool as possible. All right. Number 3, the filters should have adequate drainage and, in the best of all worlds, should be positioned to provide plenty of room for service, access, and maintenance. Now, you remember I brought that up in the beginning of our podcast, and I talked about your pool guys because your pool guys are going to come in various shapes, sizes, and colors. Okay, some dudes is big, got big old guts, and for whatever reason, hey, they like it like that because they like it like that. Nothing you're gonna be able to do about it. But the best thing you could do is, as a homeowner, okay, and if you don't have no clue or know nothing about it, let's just say it's a brand new install. One of the questions you may want to ask the installer is, hey, man, can you create a situation where there's plenty of room back here for my service guy to be able to get in and out without making any other costly repairs, right? Because sometimes if your pool house is too small and your pool car can't fit back there, what if he trips over something? What if he leans on something and breaks something else? A lot of the times, man, it's just about it not being enough room. Have you ever tried to dibble and dabble with your plumbing under the sink? Let's just say whatever type of sink you have in your house. Have you ever noticed that depending on what size you are, again, I am a mechanical guy. I got a mechanical background. It's been discussed in other videos, but I got a mechanical background and I know how to fix things. So that's what the plus is for me, becoming a pool service guy. Because I've worked with pumps, I've worked with heaters, heat pumps, different things of that nature, filters, different types of filtration systems, and where I don't claim to know everything, but I know how to observe and be very observant and pay attention to what's going on, because the slightest mistakes can cost you. And what seemed like a job that you went out on to turn a few dollars, you actually lost a whole lot of dollars for not being cognizant of what's going on around you. All right. So you got to be careful of that. Now, if you happen to be in a space where you don't have no space, like I took my family to Universal Studios right before school started back this a few weeks ago, because I believe they're in their second week of school now. And I noticed, I take note because I'm a pool service guy. The pool service, the little pool house was just behind the little gate. They had to gate it off, right? And their stuff was back there. The hose was kind of tossed around. The stuff wasn't kept in pristine so that they could be used over and over again. It was just kind of out in the element, out in the sun. Luckily, it wasn't no heat, but I mean, hey, it was there. The only thing they had hung up was their brush and their net, but their hoses and everything else just laying all over the floor. Anyway, my point to this whole story is it was a small footprint. So it wasn't a lot of space back there, right? Just so happens it was right behind the elevator outside of the room that I had. You could look down as you look over the balcony, you could see it. And it was really tight. So it is what it is, right? Didn't have no wall around it, just a gate. Everybody could see it as they moving back and forth. I mean, I don't know. I think if I was that we can always say what we would do if it was our situation. So I'm not gonna go that route. We're just gonna keep going. All right. But again, those of y'all that's gonna see this video late, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, check it out, and it's gonna be what it is. Okay, let's go. Let's keep going. Let's move through this thing. I don't plan to be before you long. I just wanted to come on here again and talk about pool filter installation systems. All right. All right. So again, 3 things to watch for. Okay, filter should always be installed on a level surface. If things ain't square, it may vibrate or not operate at its optimum. Filter should always be located to the pool as possible. The filter should always have adequate drainage, and in the best of all worlds, should be positioned to provide plenty of room for service, access, and maintenance. All right, moving on to the next topic, plumbing. The plumbing should be designed and installed with the shortest lines and the least number of fittings needed to achieve optimal water flow efficiency in the circulation system. Now, that's a really big deal because in the world that I was in the service, there were certain liquids and certain types of material that flowed. All right. So using a tight radius 90 or elbow, and 90 degrees, this is your L, right? It's that L, that 90 degrees straight across, 90 degrees. So using elbows that were tight radius provided pose problem sometime depending on the fluid or the particular media that's flowing through the pipes. So sometimes we would go with what they call street 90s. Those are long radius 90s, which gives your flow a more longer spin, a more longer move. So if you got all these fittings, you know what I mean? Pop, lock, and drop it. Pop, lock, and drop. Okay. If you got all these different fittings, you actually create more restriction to the flow. And in this case, we're talking about pool water. So keep that in mind if you're doing the plumbing on your own. Most plumbers know about this kind of stuff, but then you get a plumber that don't know about. No, plumbers deal with water flow, so they should know. But there may come a case where a plumber never worked on a pool system before, and here I am in there trying to make it as tight as possible, but maybe I ran out of some parts. Instead of, so I'm substituting parts, and subsequently I got way too many corners and bends. It's going to cause more problem to the system. All right. So you want to make sure that you have optimum water flow, and you want to install the particular fitting with the shortest lines and the least number of fittings. Okay. If the filter is most conveniently installed away from the pool, however, increasing the pipe size between the filter and the pool will decrease the head resistance and compensate for a longer run. All right. So if your pool, so basically what they're saying in a nutshell, if that filter is way down somewhere, then you want to increase the pipe sizes, which decreases the head, which means it takes the pressure off the pump and takes the pressure off the system. All right. Inspect the plumbing so you can be prepared with the proper fittings and materials when you arrive. Extra trips to the distributor to pick up unanticipated supplies can drive your job costs way up. So it sounds like it's a time for me to bring back up the 5 P's. The proper planning prevents poor performance. All right. So those 5 P's come back in, and again, you don't end up compromising yourself and or the system. All right. So make sure you inspect the plumbing. Electrical hookups. Although the filter is not directly connected to electrical power, the pump motor runs on electricity, which means the filter must be grounded. Okay. If it's metal, it needs to be grounded. Also, the electrical wiring hookup of the motor must have been completed by a licensed professional in accordance with local and national electrical codes. So you got your state codes, your local, your state, city codes like that. So again, you want to make sure that your electrician. See, the funny part coming to pools is they don't even have to be licensed professionals. That's the truth. Truth is, let's let the cat out of the bag. When I was going through the system, I thought that all pools had to be serviced by a pool professional. The laws and the codes are very vague. If you read it the wrong way, it sounds like that. But once you understand the literature, you don't even need to have no pool guy. You can do it all yourself. Okay. Now, the benefit to having a licensed professional install your stuff is it's going to be done right. If you happen to be mechanical like I am, man, you just check out your local codes and make sure you're doing everything to the T so that you don't run into no problems later on. All right. Where we at? I got a little. Okay, so always check with the filters with the installation manual. You always want to do what the manufacturer recommends, right? Okay, so let's go back. Let's see. Okay, so filter setup is the next one. Now that the pad is ready for the new filter, it's particularly important to refer to the filter's manufacturer installation recommendations for instruction regarding the specific make and model of the filter you're installing. That's very important because there are a lot of filters out there. Most of the fittings nowadays, they're starting to make universal so that they can move from one to the next, but you still should know what you're working with. You still should know what they call the nature of the beast and how the beast is supposed to be handled. Okay, and that's very important. So make sure you check on that. Okay, connect the filter to the plumbing. Every filter has two basic plumbing connections, the influent and the effluent lines. Influent means in and out. Effluent means out. The influent line supplies water to the filter. The effluent, and I'm saying effluent, is EFF, right? Line provides an outlet for water after it passes through the filter. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you got stuff on the wrong side, the filter ain't gonna work properly. Filter only filters one way. Okay. It's not like a reversing valve, or like on heat pumps. As it pertains to air conditioning, you have reverse flow filters because the flow is constantly reversing on heat pumps, depending on whether it's heat mode or cooler mode. So, but in this case, the filter only moves one way, right? So make sure that it's very important that the lines are connected properly. The plumbing lines are connected directly to the filter's multi-port valve. Some models have a push-pull valve. Okay, so keep that in mind too. And again, we talked about the different valves. Go back in our education series, you'll find that video to bring you up to speed on the type. I think it's like 3 major type of valves, and you'll learn about those valves and be a little bit more understanding as when you're watching this particular video. And I bring up the word push-pull or multi-port. Either by hand tighten union connections or, if appropriate, by bonding with an adhesive such as a PVC cement. It is recommended that Teflon tape or other types of approved sealants be applied to the threads before connecting the pipes. Remember, water takes the least path of resistance. And if your connections aren't sealed properly, that water will leak. I guarantee. Okay. All right. Before applying any adhesive, make sure that all connected points are clean and dry. Use recommended primer before applying PVC pipe joint cement. Okay, now PVC pipe joint cement can be found at all your local parts houses. The local pool houses may carry them if they carry fittings. If not, then you have to Go to your local supply houses and get that PV. They got all different kinds. They got red, they come in blue, you know. So again, you do what you think is best for you, but always, always never lean on your own understandings. Defer to the manufacturer's directions. Okay. Starting the circulation system. Once the filter is installed on the pad, all of the plumbing connections are set, and the unit is properly grounded, it's time to put circulation system into full operation, in the full swing. You want to get it in the full swing. All right. The three main types of filters require different startup procedures. Okay. So pay attention. Okay. The following are general guidelines. Manufacturers' manuals will always give you the specific help that you need. So you're going to keep hearing me say it over and over again. In order to not compromise the system, always defer to the manufacturer's operating instructions. It'll save you every time. Okay. It'll give you the specific help you need. See, listening to me, I can talk to you all day long based on my experiences, based on the things that I've encountered. But guess what? If I haven't encountered what you're dealing with, does that make me less of a professional? No, it just means I ain't come across that yet. So always. And you know what, man? When I was a kid, side note, my parents would buy new stereo systems and things of that nature. And guess who was the one that would set up and read the manufacturer's manuals and directions? The parents didn't read them. Does that mean they couldn't read? No, they just weren't interested. I was always curious on doing things right the first time. And I've always been that way. So I'm going to read those directions, okay? Sometimes I look at my wife and my daughter, and they'll be putting things together, and I'm going, why is that screw missing right there? I don't know. It's all together. Well, I still got 3 or 4 screws missing. Well, you know what? I bet you didn't read those directions. Sometimes, man, it's fun just to play with your own mind and see if you can do things. And sometimes you might get it right. But guess what? Sometimes you might get it right. Sometimes you might get it wrong. Even a clock that is not working is right twice a day. Okay. So with that being said, it's up to you. So my recommendation is to read the manufacturer's manuals, okay, to get their recommendations. That way you get that specific help that you need. All right. So let's jump into these filters. Sand filters. Most sand filters in use today are high-rate models that use the number 20 silica sand. In other models, water typically passes through a number of layers of sand and gravel that have been carefully placed in the tank. Check the specs provided by the filter before adding any materials. The size of the sand particles used as the filter medium is key. Okay. The size of the sand particles used in the filter media is key for optimum efficiency. If the sand granules are too big, filter efficiency is decreased. Conversely, if the sand particles are too small, the filter will clog up quickly with all the sand, and the sand may pass through the laterals, ending up in the pool. Not a good look, y'all. So again, most sand filters use the number 20 silica. Okay. Man, go online, go to your parts house, whether it's SCP, whether it's Leslie's, whether it's John Blow, John Doe's Pool Supply. Go talk to them people, man, behind the counter. 9 times out of 10, the owner of a pool supply used to be a service tech and found a need in his community to offer supplies, right? Maybe he saw that it was more lucrative because sometimes finding the pool house is far few in between. Those guys have had the experience. They've been around for a while. So go make friends, build a rapport, talk to them gentlemen so that they help you and get you where you're going. All right. So remember, it's key to have the right type of sand in that sand filter. If you do use a layering method, fill the tank with layers of coarse, medium, and fine gravel, followed by the silica sand on top as directed. The silica sand commonly used as the top layer has a diameter between 0.35 and 0.45 millimeters with a typical uniformity coefficient of 1.4. All right. Now, those words are some big words. We're going to keep moving. I'm not going to try to explain them things here, but man, when you come across this, push pause, pull out your dictionary and look it up so that you have a better understanding of what's going on. Okay. Also, plan to leave a space between the sand bed and the overdrain. This space is known as freeboard, and most manufacturers suggest that it should amount to half the depth of the filter bed. All right. Flow occupants are often used to improve the performance of sand filter. Most filter flocks are aluminum based and form a gelatinous layer on the top of the sand. As an alternative, diatomaceous earth can be used. Add about a half a cup of DE for each 3 square feet of filter area after the unit has been filled with sand. Experts note that the DE could wind up back in the pool, so it's best not to add it after backwashing. Okay, we don't want that stuff added to the pool. All right, so that's that for sand. Let's move right on to DE filters. All right, we're gonna I'm trying to push through this thing so I can get out in front of y'all. We've been here for a minute. I know nowadays everybody's attention span is a little short, but hey, man, you know, this is education. Education. Stick around. Okay, DE filters. These unit filters filter the water by passing it through a layer of diatomaceous earth. That's what DE stands for, which coats grids inside the filter tank. The DE is added as a pre-coat to the grids, attaching itself on the grid covering mesh known as the septa. Common practice calls for 2 ounces, adding 2 ounces of DE per square foot of filter area, which a typical variation of a half a cup either way, depending on the unit specs. Okay. Now, the DE often is mixed with water and fed into the filter as a slurry or suspended mixture. After turning on the circulation system, add the slurry via the skimmer at a rate steady as possible to permit even coating of the septa. Ideally, the DE will form a uniform cake between 1/16 and 1/18 of an inch thick. So you got to be careful. You got to pay attention. Again, if you as a homeowner don't know what you're doing, find you a service pro that can go ahead and knock this out for you, all right? DE can also be introduced to the filter by either a pre-coat pot or a solution feeder or an erosion feeder that is specifically designed for pre-coating. Okay? Pre-coated. So that's for a DE filter. Next, cartridge filters. Setup of cartridge filters is simple. Just insert the cartridge per instructions and turn on the circulation system. Now you can add a flocculating agent for these filters. However, it may require more frequent cleaning of the cartridges. So I say, if you don't know what you're doing, just, read the manufacturer's direction. And if it don't come up with flow ox, these are all just extra tricks of the trade to help that filter do what it's supposed to be doing. Now, if you're not aware of it, you don't have the experience, just do what the manufacturer says and get out of there, man. Time is money. Time is money. Remember. Okay. Final steps now. Okay. Now we're getting to the end of this, y'all. Thank y'all for hanging. Thank y'all for hanging around, man. You could have been anywhere else, but remember, this is for you. This is information that I'm bringing for you. Haywoods Pool and Spa. We pride ourselves, man, with education and bringing the homeowner up to speed, bringing the people who aren't necessarily service pros up to speed to get you to be a service pro. And that's where we're going from, y'all. Like I said, this is a walk. It's not a marathon, right? There's a saying where I remember a dad said, "Hey, Dad, let's run down and catch one." The dad says, "No, son. How about we walk down and we get them all? We get them all. We take our time. So take your time. It's one account at a time. Build rapport. Keep open communication with your client. That builds rapport and it helps build trust, which helps you to get word of mouth and you to become the best service pro that you can be." All right. So finally, the final step in the process, regardless of filter type, is to open the filtration unit's air release valve and turn on the pump. When a steady stream of water shoots out, close the valve. The system is now working. Now, we've heard that before. You've heard me repeat that before. So it's imperative. Because if you don't open an air vent, air gets trapped in there, and now you got unnecessary head pressure. You don't need the pressure, to be out of this world for no apparent reason. Okay. Most systems, like I say, they'll have, like, depending on what type, and I'm talking about outside of pools. You'll put air vents at the highest level where the air can reach, so it out. In this case, you want to go to that pump. Once you close that filter assembly up, wherever your valve is, if it's on top of the pump, if it's on the side of the pump, open that valve. If it's like an air valve, let the air get out, and once a steady stream of water coming out. It's no different than bleeding brakes if you've ever bled brakes, like on a quad or a dirt bike or even a vehicle. One person has to pump, whether it's the master cylinder on the front brake or the back. You pump, you hold. Somebody else is on the other end at the valve, releasing the air out of the line. And you do it enough times until you get a steady spurt of fluid coming through. Now your lines have been bled, the air's out of the system, everything's going to work properly. So that same theory is, as you can see, it's introduced into this system here. So make sure that you close that valve after you get a steady stream coming out. And now you can walk away. You can sleep tonight. You can sleep tonight because you've done it properly. All right. Be advised that in many cases, this step has been rendered unnecessary. Most modern filters have an automatic air relief built into them to prevent any damage on startup. If that's the kind of system that you're working with, your job is even easier, right? A final note. All right. This is the final note. Guys, I'm going to get out of here. The final note, if you're starting up a filter on a new or replastered pool, be sure that the plaster dust is removed or it can cause damage to its elements. All right. So with that plaster dust, you're probably going to have to check, clean that filter several times, do a bunch of backwashing to it until that you can see that plaster dust is not it's not building up on your filter, and then you can move on from there. All right. Replastering of the pool, like I said, is about the only time. And again, when you're dealing with some sand filters, so some might release, end up back at that filter. You just got to make sure that sand and or the DE is introduced to the filter properly, so that way you prevent again costly repairs. You prevent callback from the customer. So one thing I hate is callbacks. Anytime I service something, I want to make sure that it's done right the first time to prevent the callbacks. All right. So with that being said, hey man, today we talked about pool filter installation. We went over a step-by-step guide to installing some pool filter systems. Man, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I know that education sometimes can be long. It can be gruesome, right? We're not here to do a lot of entertaining, although we do try to jazz it up a little bit to hold your attention. But in the meantime, we're here to educate you. I'm not here to impress you, but I do want to press upon you, okay, that it's imperative that you follow the manufacturer's directions. Whether you're starting up a pump, whether you're changing the filter, whether you just putting an air relief valve on the filter to let all the air out of the system. Read the manufacturer's directions so that you be smooth, man, like top of that water. Smooth. You want to be smooth. You got to come in smooth. You know what I mean? That way you build the trust, you build the rapport. You and your customers happy, your clients happy, whether it's a big commercial account or whether it's the smallest residential account. All right. Happiness is the key. Hey, man, I want to thank you for checking out this video. Be sure to give us a thumbs up. The thumbs up helps us to get into the different algorithms. So make sure that you give us a thumbs up. Like, subscribe, and share. The biggest thing you can do is give a thumbs up and share. Even if you're not interested in this video, what I'm talking about don't pertain to you, because guess what? You don't even got a pool. You don't even got an Intex. You ain't got nothing. Doesn't matter. Somebody else out there needs this information. If you was at the water cooler, you heard one of your colleagues talking about pool filtration, make sure you turn them on to Haywoods Pool and Spa podcast on YouTube. You can check us out on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. And, man, let's talk. You can also hit us up if you want to send me a message to Haywoods Pool Spa at gmail.com. And that's Haywoods, Haywoods, Pool Spa. All one word at gmail.com. And, man, I check the emails 3 times a day. So I'm looking for you. I'm curious to see when these comments start flowing through. Again, we're new at this podcasting thing, but you got to start somewhere, right? Stay safe out there, y'all. Keep it clean. Make sure that you have all the proper safety equipment around your pools and things of that such, and make sure that pool house has the proper spacing for your pool guy to be able to get in and out. All right. With that being said, man, I love you to life. It's Haywoods Pool and Spa. I'm Mr. Haywood, owner and operator. And man, I'll see you at the pool house.